Welcome to another episode of the Meet Dave podcast. I'm Dave Williamson. Please come see me on the road, guys. My tour schedule is up at davewilliamsoncomedy.com. Over the rest of the year, I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm going to be in Boise. I'm going to be in Grand Rapids. I'm going to be in Florida with my other podcast co-host, Forrest Shaw. Going to do a little run through Florida to promote the Mermen podcast. I'm going to be in Vegas and a bunch of other cities. Go to davewilliamsoncomedy.com. Check that out. Also, I should be having the new redesigned label of the Meet Dave all-purpose seasoning and rub on the website and ready to go by the time this airs. Go to the website, order some of that. You're not going to regret it. It's delicious. Very excited for today's episode. A dude I've known for a long time, a guy who has been in the barbecue world, been in the barbecue game for a long time, and now has found himself in the comedy world as well. So we share two very passionate interests together in that. And it's been really cool to see what he does combining the two. He's also just a good dude out of Austin, Texas. You can follow him at Best Barbecue on Instagram or go to his YouTube and check out his show, The Best BBQ Show. Please meet my friend, Yoni. I'm excited to finally have you. We've been talking about it for quite a while. And we've been... You know, I know you're busy, I'm busy, and finally just yesterday I was thinking, like, I should have Yoni and see if that's, for me, sometimes that's the easiest way to schedule something. It's just last minute, especially when it's like a friend. You can just hit him up and be less than professional. So anyways, thanks for being here. That's the point. For people that don't know, Yoni is a barbecue lover. I would dare say expert, a digital creator, and has found himself hovering around the comedy world as well, now that Austin has become a comedy hub, and you work with Tony Hinchcliffe on Kill Tony and are kind of all in that world now. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're actually, I'm using the Kill Tony camera right now to shoot this.
Well, have you always lived in Austin? Are you a Texas guy from the beginning?
No, I moved here in 2008.
And from where? Where'd you move from?
Upstate New York.
Okay. So did the barbecue, the love of barbecue start once you were in Texas, and did it start like young for you, or when did the barbecue come into your life?
I think in 1999, someone gave me a copy of Rick, what is his name? The Barbecue Bible. You know, it's this thick. It's like a phone book.
Okay.
And you know, I was trying to do the kind of Weber grill snake method, indirect, and I spent, 9 years trying to do that and trying to figure out how to get the kiss of smoke. And I moved down here in 2008 for a job, and I was like, this is what I've been looking for. Offset smoker, you know, the real, like, the real smoking of meat, not just like backyard smoking.
Yeah, and that's your baby sitting there behind you over your shoulder. Tell me about that bad boy.
Yeah, this is a custom that I got off of a neighbor a long time ago. I actually have Centex Smokers building me a new one that's going to be probably around the same size, maybe a little bigger, and I can pull it behind my little Jeep. So it'll be kind of like a little mini party smoker.
And so you're at Best Barbecue on Instagram, and you do some podcasting and some YouTube clips or whatever, and you do that under Best BBQ Show, right? Is how people find that?
Exactly, yeah. Best Barbecue. It's spelled out on Instagram, BARBECUE. It's I don't know. I fell in love with it, and I the cool thing was I spent almost 5 years just making friends and spending time in the barbecue scene before I even thought of making a show about it. So it was kind of like, by the time I started making a show, it was just like, hey, you're awesome. I want to show everyone you're awesome. And obviously you don't know how a camera works, but I do. So let's do it.
Yeah, I kind of went the same route. Like, I was just seeking people out and wanted to meet them and wanted to learn from them and wanted to talk to them.
Yeah.
And then after I was doing that for a while, I realized people might want to hear this. Like, people, and not only that, but I forget everything. So I'm like, this might be cool to record. If I'm going to record it anyways, you might as well put it out as content, right?
Yeah, and I think when I first started, the story of Texas barbecue wasn't really being told that broadly. And now, Netflix has dipped in a little bit. I think Texas barbecue has really taken over since I, started just interviewing people randomly in smokehouses.
Yeah, I just saw they announced that they're going to do season 2 of the Great American Barbecue Cook-Off, or whatever the heck they call it. But
is that a competition?
Yeah, it's the one that Tina Cannon won before the pandemic, and Rashid Phillips, I think, came in second place. There was a bunch of great personalities.
I love Rashid.
Yeah, Rashid's the man, dude.
I just saw him. I saw him at this big party out in the hill country. He's the coolest.
Oh, he's killing it, man. He's been on the podcast multiple times, and I need to get him back because it's been a long time and so much has changed in his world. But yeah, man, it was.
He's a beautiful human being too. He's just gorgeous. Looks so good in all those like slow-mo shots.
Yeah, I was gonna say physically and just internally, he's a beautiful human being. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and he can cook like a mofo.
No, it's cool. A lot of these guys, we all were kind of like, we're just nerds talking years ago. 1,000 followers, whatever, and now he's like a fucking behemoth. He's a beast. You're killing it. Like everyone's like, I think I'm slacking a little bit. I need to catch up on my content. It's been too busy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have a legit gig making content for others, so that's what happens sometimes.
Well, and I think I really covered a lot of what I wanted to cover, and so I'm I don't know, reformulating the way I want to do things, because plus everyone goes crazy when the Texas Monthly List comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let the dust settle on that one and then kind of see what's going on. Actually, a bunch of barbecue guys were at Kill Tony on Monday or yesterday.
Like guys from out of town or what?
No, John Bates from Interstellar and his family. I got him some seats in the second or third row or whatever.
Heck yeah, man. And nothing makes me happier than when the worlds collide. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it too at some point here, but I went and did a barbecue tour where I did 2 months of comedy in barbecue restaurants, and then just touring with Bert. Some of the guys always want to come out and party and see the show. So we've had Malcolm Reed out. And Big Mo and a bunch of different guys have come out, and the crew from The Shed just came out. There was a big conference going on in Orlando, and we just happened to be there doing the big arena there. So Brooke and Brad from The Shed came, and Cosmo from Cosmo's Q, and the W Sauce guys. They were all there. So I had them all at the after party, and I was like, this is like my heaven, dude. It's like I just got to work and do comedy, but now I'm also hanging out and talking barbecue with all these interesting people.
Yeah, I got to do a Memphis in May with Brooke and Brad. It's literally a party 24/7. They're the only people I know that party as hard as comedians.
Yeah, that's fair assessment. Have you been? Do you go to Memphis in May a lot, or did you just go that one time? Or
I've been 2 or 3 times, but that was like my biggest. It was like such a coincidence because it was the first time I went, and they just like took me in, because I didn't realize that in these barbecue competitions you kind of have to know people. You can't just like, I tried to introduce myself and a lot of places just wouldn't let me in or wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
And I was like an official, media. I had a badge and everything. But they were like, yo, just come hang out here. And I had met them before that, but this is the first time I really got to hang out. And it was, they just won everything that year too. So it was cool because I got them kind of behind the scenes. And after they just like destroyed and carried, I mean, the trophies are like 3-4 feet tall.
Yeah, I've only been once, and so when this episode comes out, it will be the week of Memphis in May, and I'm thinking about going. I don't have anything going on that weekend, and I'm thinking about just going.
Yeah,
I know so many people.
It's great. It's right on the river.
Yeah. So that was one of my stops on my barbecue tour, and I've told this story over and over again on here, but I'll keep telling it. But that was the one where people were like, you're going to do a show at Memphis in May? I'm like, yeah, it's someone's tent. They hired me to come do it and thought it would be fun. And people are like, that's a terrible idea. They're like, Memphis in May is chaos. And they're like, there's no way you're going to like be able to do something where you capture people's attention, right? And I was like, whatever, man. If it goes terribly, it'll be great content, So I don't care. And then I get to go to Memphis in May too, right? So so we did it, and I'm doing my show, and then the people that were partying on this tent and the people that were partying on this tent asked the DJs to lower their music so they could come over and look over the tent and listen. And then the people walking by on the river stopped and all pressed up against the fence. So not only did I have this party, but I had people lined up all around. And I was only supposed to do like 20 or 30 minutes, and I ended up doing like 45 minutes or an hour or something because people were just having fun. So I just kept going, you know? And then the sun started setting behind me, so I got this beautiful like photos of the sunset behind me and the people listening, and it ended up being the best. And then I just didn't realize how much like barbecue people were aware of, you know, of I guess the podcast or whatever, because the whole rest of the weekend I was walking around, and it's like you said, you don't really have access, but then people would be like, oh shit, meet Dave, get in here. And then I'm like having to do shots with the Swinos, and you know, I went down and saw Malcolm, I saw Mo, I just started running into the Rec Tech guys, and dude, it was, I'm gonna go. That's it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get it. Luis, you want to go with me? You want to go to a bar?
Fuck it, let's do it. You're paying, right?
Let me. Yeah, I'm gonna go, dude. I think I'm gonna go. Do you want to go, Yoni? You want to go to Memphis May? Let's go. Let's go party.
When is it?
It's not.
Is it this weekend?
It's no. It's well. It's like the 18th to the 21st.
I'll have to check. I think we're doing a couple dates around the country this month.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go. If you want to go, dude, I think I have a place we can crash. And honestly, even if you don't have a media pass, like it's only like $20 or something to buy a general admission ticket, and then you just go in, and then everyone does what, you know, they're like, hey, Yoni, Dave, come hang out, you know.
Oh, I'm sure I could send an email and they'd be cool.
All right,
I'm sure I could hit up Brad too. I've done everything. Brad's put me up in a hotel. I've crashed on his couch or in his guest house, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you been to the shed? The shed's like that's like a whole experience in itself. And it's so funny because all the Memphis May, all the trophies are in this like case that's like, it's like they have so many, they're like collecting dust.
So I have not. I met Brad just like at Memphis and May, just very briefly, and you know, we have tons of mutual friends, obviously. But then when they came out to the show not too long ago in Florida, that I got to really hang out with them, him and Brooke, and you know, just hit it off. And I've talked to Brad a few times since. And I thought I had a gig put together in that area, and I was so excited because I was like, I'm gonna go do this one nighter, and then I'm gonna stay the weekend and go just party at the shed for the rest of the weekend, right? And then the gig fell through, so I'm trying to make an effort to go there, and then I want to do it like I want to do more of the stuff that I can't do it the same way. Like when I went and did that barbecue tour, it was very logistically difficult because I was driving a trailer with all the gear and 2 camera people, production people with me. And it was just a lot of miles and like logistically it was very difficult, right? But I would like to figure out a way to do some more of that touring and maybe go do some shows at barbecue places or at barbecue events, and but just like fly in, rent a car kind of deal, not necessarily drive from LA to Boston again. So I definitely want to check out the shed because I think that people tell me that would be an awesome place for a show. And then I would like I'd like to shoot a special, whether it's, you know, an hour, like my own hour, and I put it out as a special, or if I just do it as like Dave and Friends and do some sort of like invite some of my buddies to experience the barbecue culture, and we put on a showcase show and film that and put it up on YouTube or whatever. I want to start doing more of that because a lot of the venues just from the first go around, they look really beautiful on camera, and it's really cool to be in somewhere different, a different kind of thing than just a generic club or theater, you know? So I definitely want to go check out the shed. I think that might be the place if I decide to do my special at a barbecue place.
And you got to come to Snow's, bro.
Dude, let's talk about Snow's. Tell me about Snow's. It's one of the only places there I haven't hit that's like the famous places because it's only open like once a week or something, right?
Saturday, 8 a.m., yeah.
So it's never really like it's never really worked with the schedule whenever I was coming through. But I mean, obviously it's a bucket list place, and I know that you go there a lot.
Yeah, in fact, one of my more recent podcasts is with the owner's 2 daughters and one of the pitmasters, Clay Cowgill, and it's super fun.
It's so for people that aren't aware, Snow's was featured on Netflix's
Chef's Table Barbecue.
Yep. And what's her name? Is it Tootsie?
Yep. Miss Tootsie.
Miss Tootsie. She's a badass grandma figure who's a pit master and gets dirty and is just beloved by the barbecue community. And she's there at Snow's. That's where she cooks.
Yeah, and she's just had a birthday, going on 87. Gets there at midnight, cooks pork steaks and chicken, and just hangs out, takes a million pictures. I mean, it's crazy because she doesn't have she doesn't have social media, but she probably has literally a million photos of her on Instagram.
Yeah, some cool ones too, man. Like that chef's table was done so beautifully, where it's just like cinematic shots of the coals coming out of the firebox and being moved over here, and the lid being opened and the smoke coming out. I mean, it's gorgeous. And then there's a lot of really cool shots of Tootsie doing that. Miss Tootsie.
So I have the standing record, I believe, for most Saturdays in a row, because I went there for almost 4 years every Saturday. And in that Netflix documentary, about 5 minutes and 15 seconds, I think, she flips a pork steak, and then it cuts to a sandwich with sauce getting poured on it. That's me. That's my I go there every Saturday, make a sandwich, and I put brisket, and then I put chicken, and I rip up some of the chicken skins, and I put sauce on it. And I saw them out of the corner of my eye kind of like turn the camera towards me, and I just like put on the fucking show. I did like the nice crisscross pattern, and they put it in like super slow-mo. So I'm not in it, but technically my sandwich and my hand is in it.
Oh man, they needed to get a close-up of the stash with getting sauce all over it as you bite into it. That's the money shot, dude.
Yeah. Well, the thing that happened is they got excited because I'm such a big fan, and half their pictures on Google Maps are my pictures. I have like 14 million views on Google Maps for my Snow's pictures.
What a place to blow up, Google Maps.
Yeah. But so, I have like 30 million views now from all the barbecue places and stuff I've gone.
Yeah.
Because I take really good pictures and I label them. Anyways, that's my like secret social media, my maps.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. But they were excited that I was there, and they told them that I have like a barbecue show and stuff. So I think they avoided putting me on camera because they were afraid I was just there to like promote my thing.
Oh yeah. That's like when you go to be on like The Price is Right or Let's Make a Deal, you can't tell them you're a comedian or an actor. You got to just pretend like you're a regular dude.
Right. Yeah. You can't be like part of something bigger. I can show you, bro. I like live for Google Maps. That's my fiddle. You can see. Yeah. Those are, and I got like the whole world.
Jeez, dude. I've never seen someone so invested. That reminds me.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing it for like a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole fucking country.
That reminds me of when my grandpa, when I was growing up, he had a big world map with little push pins in it of everywhere he's been in his life. And you're the new reiteration of that, Yoni.
Yeah, they're more like digital push pins. Well, and it's great because like you've told me about places. Everyone I talk to, they tell me about places, so I can save it as like I want to go here, and then I can write Dave underneath or Jeff or whoever told me about it. So like if I'm watching Bourdain's fucking travel shows, I just write Bourdain, and I know that this is from one of those episodes.
Oh man, I love that. What?
Yes.
So how far is Snow's from Austin? What's the drive?
It's like exactly an hour.
Okay, it's not bad. And I know that this is a hot topic, and I know that you've probably had this discussion ad nauseum, but let's talk a little bit about Austin barbecue, because there's the places that are the famous places. There are the places that are the local places. Give me the real rundown of what you think the current state of barbecue is in Austin, and where's the spots that people have to hit.
Austin is the center, Lockhart likes to say they're the center, but Austin we're the live comedy capital now. We're the live music capital, and we're the barbecue capital by far. Aaron Franklin basically invented a new method of cooking here, and so many pitmasters have, taken it and just gone running. I guess, like I talked about Interstellar Barbecue, that's a chef turned barbecue guy. He used to do Noble Sandwich, which was on Food Network and Diners, Drive-Ins, and all. He had he had the spray painted Guy Fieri with the signature on the door, and he quit all that sandwich crap to become a barbecue guy, and he got number 2 in the state from the top 50 list. Micklethwait is always a classic. They've got this jalapeno cheese grits that's crazy. They do lamb and all kinds of fun stuff. J&L Barbecue, that's a guy that worked for Aaron for almost 5 years, who's doing his own thing. It's very metal themed. He's a fucking killer. And he just got his own brick and mortar. He throws fucking metal shows and cooks amazing barbecue. Rollin' Smoke Barbecue, that's a truck that's right over here on 12th Street. It's crazy. He makes me like chimichangas and all kinds of wild shit when I'm there. I mean, I can just go on and on about all the different ways you can do Texas barbecue just in Austin.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of like trees too, like just like in the NFL, there's coaching trees. So you could say like this head coach that had success had these assistant coaches, and then they went off and became head coaches and had their own success, and they passed the knowledge down. So like Franklin, for example, you're saying this J&L guy, and then I know John Lewis also worked with Aaron Franklin in the early days, and he went to Carolina and opened a place there. And there's just all these dudes I like have come from other dudes, you know?
Yeah, well, and those dudes, there's like the Miller family, which is like kind of, there's a daughter that has her own barbecue thing at La Barbecue. There's a son named Wayne who's doing his own thing at Louis Miller, the original Miller's Barbecue. And then, rest in peace, John Miller, he had places all over Austin, and he taught a ton of pit masters, at La Barbecue. The law stands for Leanne, which is his daughter, but her wife is really the one that throws down and studied with John and a bunch of other people, and really, just really taught a bunch of people. Now, you got the Goldie's guys in Fort Worth. A lot of those guys worked with Aaron and Leanne and a bunch of people, and then all came together as a young crew and opened their place out in Grand Prairie, I think it's called.
What's the story? I know that there was some sort of, I don't know if drama is the word, but there was a place, or there is a place called Black's Barbecue, and then I think the family split up, and there was 2 different Blacks, and now you have Terry Black's is one of the most popular places, and I don't know if they're associated with those other Black's barbecues or whatever, but what's the whole breakdown of all that?
Yeah, so it was all one family, the Black family in Lockhart, and I don't really know exactly what the story is, but I believe it's 2 brothers, but they're the Blacks in Lockhart, and the ones here are a different half of the family than Terry Black's. And Terry Black's is Mark and Mike, just 2 of the coolest guys who just wanted to create something totally different. They have multiple cutters, so you can get, even if the line, what looks like an hour line is 15 minutes. They're opening places all over. They're just investing in people. You know what I mean? They were like, yeah, we had this great idea where we just took 15% off the tipping and we just made it 20, 25, 30, just so our people can like make an extra couple bucks an hour, Yeah. And they just, they hire great people. They treat everyone super good. And they just put out, I mean, you can look on their Instagram, there's just mounds, 200 briskets on a Saturday they have to trim.
The volume that they do is insane. And I guess you answered part of the question. That's how they do it. And then if they figured out a better way of getting people through the line faster, and they're just they're so welcoming too. Whenever I've gone by there, like, they're like the hot place in town now, but they've been like, oh, Dave, they invite me into the pit room, and they just make me feel special every time I go there. Yeah. It's great. And I tell people when I have friends that go in town, it pays off for them, because I go, you got to go to Terry Black's and pop your head in and tell them you're my friend, and then they treat those guys nice, and it's just really cool. Like, they're obviously, you're right. You can get great barbecue a lot of places, but those people seem to be treating people right.
Yeah, and the cool thing about them is, like, yeah, you could just hit me up and I'll tell Mark that we're coming, and he'll, have everything set up for us, have a table reserved. But it's also, I don't know, like, when I was doing my show more, I was working with a wine guy, a sommelier who was also big on Texas wines. So one of the reasons they have that huge wine rack is because instead of being like, no, we're just traditional barbecue, they met my sommelier and he was like, you guys should sell Texas wine to go with Texas barbecue. And so now they have a huge rack of just grab bottles. You can just pop a bottle. And I think it's fun that they're supporting all the Texas culture. It's not just barbecue. It's like the people, it's the wine, that if there was a better way to cook, Mike and Mark would want to like do it that way. You know what I mean? But they really optimize. I mean, even the mac and cheese, the green bean, everything's just so fresh and perfect, even if it gets like delivered to the club sometimes.
Yeah, totally, man. All right. So if you're traveling and you pull out your little push pin Google map thing, whatever, and you're going into a barbecue place, what thought process goes through your head that you are judging how you rate that place?
I save ratings and lists for other people. I really like to find a story. And one of the ways that I made so many friends in Texas barbecue is because I just walk into pit rooms. Whether or not there's a big sign like a Terry Black says, ask about a pit tour, I just invite myself into the pits and say hi to people and talk to people. And I don't know, it's fun. It's like talking shop, And I love to go by the vibe, Like, for example, Snow's, they're not cooking things like Aaron Franklin. They are kind of, you know what I mean? But there's still a lot of old school to what they're doing. They've adapted a little bit and paid a little more attention to the brisket. So everything comes out probably even better than the first time I went there. But the whole experience, just being there, seeing people lining up to take pictures with Tootsie, telling stories, seeing the locals pull up in their little golf carts and stuff. Like, to me, a barbecue place isn't just if the brisket pulls apart right or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I love to talk to them about it because they might tell me that, like, for example, in Lockhart, there's a bunch of places where they just throw it on they don't trim the briskets. They just throw them on the smoker and you actually walk into the smoke room to order, and they'll tell you about it. And, Roy from Kreutz, he'll literally be talking to you and be like, oh, you want this piece, and that's part of the experience. But at the same time, I think, just because, like, I love Smitty's, that's another place in Lockhart, but sometimes their brisket isn't perfect, but I love it. And I love the taste and I love the way that they don't even use a firebox. They literally, there's a fire and then there's a hole in the side of the smoker. And the actual convection of their huge smokestack just sucks the smoke off of like an open flame.
Yeah,
to me, it's like I don't even care about the food at this point. I just want to taste it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you find some of these places off the beaten path and they just have some smoker that has been handed down for generations. And when you look at it, it doesn't even make sense. And then you realize, like, oh, they're so in tune with this particular smoker that if something ever happened to it, they might be in trouble, because even if they bought a fancy, brand new, like, offset, custom-made smoker, it's not the same process of how they've been cooking food for, like, 15 years or whatever. It's funny. I've seen some places like that. Yeah.
What bothers me is, I went to the LA food something.
Oh, what was it? Was it the food bowl? Or was
food bowl? Is that right?
Well, there's the smorgasbord or whatever. That's that they run like every so often. But then there was at one point, God, what do they call it? It's
I think it's the food bowl or something like that.
Okay. So that,
anyways,
yeah, that was like,
smorgasbord is cool.
Yeah.
My friend's Moo's Barbecue started at Smorgasbord.
Yep. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I went to that food bowl thing too. That was like a one-off thing that they do, because they do different kinds of food, whatever. And they did a barbecue one, and Franklin came, and Horn Barbecue, and just a bunch of great pit masters.
Matt Horn.
Yeah, I was there that week.
Did you see the big pit that they made out of stone for the ribs? That Pat, what is Pat's last name? Anyways, I was there. I still have content I haven't put out from that because I got so much. But it was this whole thing where all the LA people were like giving a finger to the city hall because we had these open pits that the city would never let you do at an actual restaurant.
Yeah.
But they let them do it in a park because it's a special event or whatever. And it was this whole thing where we were like, a lot of the guys like like slab, he has to use this like smoker built into the wall that's like food certified or whatever, because in LA they won't actually let you use smokers. And to me, the ultimate thing to do would be to build a place around the smokers. And I don't think anyone's thinking that way, the way that Lockhart and some of these old school places, like, build it around the pit room, you know what I mean? And a lot of the local laws in cities just don't allow you to do shit like that anymore.
Yeah, it's been I mean, that's the story of Los Angeles barbecue, is that because of the regulations here, they are not allowed to just have an offset smoker sitting outside like all the places in Texas do.
Right.
But
even in Austin, there's, Terry Black's has to run their smokers through basically a giant bong, but it like runs the smokers through water and a filter because the neighbors complained about the smell.
Yeah.
And they were saying that they had asthma, and it's whatever.
How dare they? That should help the property value, if anything. How dare they?
Well, I used to live in that neighborhood, and I was at those neighborhood meetings where Mike and Mark happily came and they said, we'll do, if you guys really want us to do something, like they came to the table, and then everyone seemed like it was a good meeting. And then like a week later, they got 9 lawsuits. And it was like, they were there. You could have just been like, hey, can you, because they didn't necessarily want us to put $100,000 filtration system on there. But I think they would have been willing to do it without a lawsuit. It's just goofy local politics.
Sure. It's always something, man. And I mean, you could take that and multiply it times 1,000 out here. But people are now figuring it out. I mean, that's why when I first started and when I first started seeking out great barbecue in LA, the pop-up guys were where it was at, because they could actually legally pull up with a smoker or cook real barbecue, and breweries were really starting to pop off about that time. So there was a real need for food at the breweries. So everyone was just crushing it with barbecue at the breweries. And then as time went on, they kind of made those rules even tougher. And, and the people out here aren't as conditioned to what real barbecue is either. So when they had to wait in line for an hour for their food, they were mad. And it's like, no, that's what you do for barbecue. Barbecue's isn't just made to order. It's like, we started it yesterday. You know what I mean? And or when something ran out, they'd be mad. And it's like, well, that's what happens when something's good, is they sell out of it in barbecue. You can't just whip up another brisket like willy-nilly.
Well, and I like that there's a learning curve. It's kind of how Austin's learning to be a comedy city. There's just the eating off the platter thing. I've talked to guys in Toronto, Tokyo, the Philippines, where they're like, we had to like teach people how to, like in Texas, a Texan, because if you hand them a piece of barbecue, they just grab it with their fingers. and that's how I knew, like, I always mess with the Californians, because I'd like cut a piece and hand it to them, and they'd be like, they're like looking for a fork or a napkin. And there was one night where I think it was back at like one of the older clubs that we did Kill Tony, but Ron White was there, and I was like, this is how you know Ron White's a Texan. And they're like, what? And I handed him a piece of brisket, and he just took it with his fingers and ate it. Yeah. And then I did it to some Californian, I think it was someone's agent.
Oh, and they're grabbing like a napkin, and they're putting it on the napkin. Yeah,
exactly. They're like, how do I, can I get a plate? It's like, no, just eat it.
Yeah. Well, I've experienced that as well, man, when I've gone around and cooked at shows. If I'm not selling it as a plate, I usually just chop it up into samples, just so everyone at the show, the audience members can just eat it and whatever. And I do the same thing. People are like, and I go, bro, just grab it off the cutting board, man. Just grab it, eat it. Yeah. Like, that's it. And I'm like, we're all family. This isn't like a restaurant. Like, we're not getting this is like tailgate style, dude. Yeah. Like, this is a party is what it is. You just grab it and you eat it, man. For sure.
That's my favorite, because like when you're at a tailgate, or when you're at a place where everyone gets it, the guy on the cutting board knows he has to be pretty quick, because everyone starts to kind of crowd in, and then as soon as I like move the knife and push it away, you just see hands. Yeah. And I love my buddy Ben Sassani, who's a big barbecue photographer down here. He loves to get that shot of like 3 or 4 sets of hands reaching in on the plate, because it's like, that's what we're just here to tear this apart. You know what I mean? With our hands. Throw it in a piece of bread, the barbecue taco is literally just you take a piece of bread, you put brisket and pickles and fold it. Yeah. Like, it's the best.
I love it. Well, you're right though. Places out here are starting to figure it out. Slab has the indoor smokers, like you said, and now like Heritage Barbecue down in San Juan Capistrano, they figured out that town figured out how to get some.
Yeah,
and
my boy Danny, bro.
Oh yeah, Danny's there. Danny's the man. He's killing it.
I love him.
So then they've also got this thing now where the offset smokers, if you can get them, I forget what the term is for it, but it's basically you get them certified.
Right. NSF certified. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can do that, then all of a sudden it becomes a legal thing to have a pit room and whatever. So the people that are figuring it out here are killing it.
The Harp guys, right? They're doing that.
Yeah, Harp is Harp is a brand down here.
One of their little hibachis is like sitting right over there.
That's how I know those guys, man. They just started building these hibachis and everyone had them. And I wanted to put one on the bus when we were traveling, but they're kind of heavy and bulky. But they're perfect for it, you know. But yeah,
you guys you get all the good meat and shit. I love watching all these like tailgates you throw with the tour bus, man. Stuff looks fun.
Yep. So I don't know. I think it ran its course for the most part. I mean, I'm sure there'll be occasions when we do some of that stuff, but there was a moment in time where we were just cooking every day, you know, and then that led up to fully loaded. But now, you know, nobody's getting younger, and Bert's got rowing machines on the bus now, and we've got more people on the bus, so there's not as much space for all my barbecue equipment because we have actual like things that people need, you know. And but for
I mean, you guys have cameras running like 24/7. It's crazy. He's like in the middle of the ocean and a drone flies up. Like you guys have a blast.
Usually naked. But especially during the pandemic tour when it was kind of a necessity because not many restaurants were open and we were having to fend for ourselves for food. And plus it was just a real tailgate vibe anyways because we were out in fields doing shows, you know. And then through the theater tours where we were setting up on the loading dock and I'm cooking for the green room so that when we have guests back, it's kind of a nice treat. And then, fully loaded, I started cooking. Bert wanted to do fully loaded as a way to show the fans and also other comedians how we tour and kind of give them a little, let them be part of the world. And so our, cooking and the barbecue is a big part of that. So Bert told me, he's like, I'll pay for the barbecue. He's like, just feed the fans. So I would pull into town. I'd figure out what I could cook between then and showtime. I'd sit out there with a booth as soon as doors were open, and I'd kind of run the tailgate, and I'd give out free barbecue, just cutting it up into samples and handing it out and selling my rubs and talking barbecue with people and throwing a Frisbee. And then I'd run up to the show, and I'd host a 3-hour comedy show. And then I'd run back, and I'd clean my smokers, and I'd clean up my cutting boards, and I'd pack it all back up in the bus. Then I'd go to the after party, and I'd figure out what I was going to cook the next day and pull it out of the freezer. And just do it over and over again. And it was so fun, man. Anytime I get to combine the two worlds, man, it just makes me so happy.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about, you know? That's why I used to go to more competitions and stuff, but that's why I'm all about the story, because it's just so much fun to share barbecue with people, whether it's a bunch of people a bunch of strangers. I mean, a barbecue joint is also a place where, like, I'm sure that some of the people just grabbed a piece and some of them like just hung out there for who knows how long before the show started, because it just brings people together. Stick your hands in the same pile of meat.
That's a beautiful metaphor. We're all just hands in the same big old pile of meat.
Yeah. Pass it down.
I like it. We should get matching tattoos of that, Yoni. Let's get a tattoo. Let's put a pile of meat and have my hand and your hand going into it, and then we're gonna get matching tattoos of that.
Well, half the time we're in the same place and we don't even realize. I like looked over and I was like, I think I know that guy. And then like someone moved and I was like, oh, because you were at the roast in LA. And I was like, yeah, of course he's here. Duh.
Yeah, I was
Bert's
there
roast.
Hanging out, getting drunk. And then
he had like a tank top on. I didn't know. No one told me there was like costumes.
That's how I normally dress. So then last time I saw you was at Comedy Mothership, and I guess it's worth talking about that. That place is incredible.
Yeah, it's dope.
I mean, what a place to watch comedy. Joe knocked it out of the park with building that spot, and it's got the big room, which is an old theater.
Batman.
Yeah, it's an old theater, and then the little room is up on the second level, just outside the green room, and there's balconies off of the green room, so the comedians can just pop outside the green room and see what's going on in the main room. They don't have to go down and get in everyone's way in the back of the room, and then the way that they set up the TVs and the lights in the green room so that everyone can be comfortable to hang out and chill and talk and network and just have a good hang. It's really easy to know when you're almost up on stage and who's on stage right now. So, I mean, the place is just built so efficiently, and it just feels so cool, man. It's great to see, man. It's gonna kick ass. I mean, it already is.
Yeah, and we love doing Kill Tony there. It looks good. It sounds good. The crowds are rabid as always.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to just blow up that room every Monday and have you guys and other people hanging out on the balconies, and it's really it's a gift to the city. And I always said that when that Ritz closed, it kind of like it I feel like there was like it hurt 6th Street a little bit, and to see all those lights lit up and to see people lined up, and it's cool. Like, I think it's not going to happen overnight, but I think it's really going to change at least that block and hopefully the rest of 6th Street, so it's less sketchy and more fun.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And just worth mentioning also, that night I saw you there, when I was leaving, I realized I was hungry and I had to drive back to San Antonio that night. And there was a little taco cart on the corner and maybe had 2 of the best tacos I've ever had in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Just eating it out of my
Tacos
lap.
way.
Oh, it was so good, man. I mean, there's no reason to ever waste a meal in Austin, Texas.
No, we eat good.
So what was your we'll wrap it up here in a minute, man. I've enjoyed talking to you. But
Yeah, I love it.
So what did you meet Tony after he moved to Austin? Were you already doing anything with comedy, or was that just kind of fall together?
I was a Kill Tony fan, I don't know, from 2016 or 2017. I listened to the podcast a little bit, but as soon as I saw it on YouTube, I would take Mondays off and watch it and cook meals and make ramen and pop, the biggest bowl of popcorn and just watch Kill Tony. And I just love the vibe and I love the idea and I love the concept. And so I made friends, I think, with Joel, right? Yeah, I made friends with Joel first, the drummer.
Yeah.
Joel Berg. And so when they started coming to Texas, I just brought, you can see some of it on my Instagram actually, but I brought them a full spread, from 2M Smokehouse, from Terry Black's. I did Terry Black's in Dallas too. And so whenever they were in a green room, I literally just brought my own cutting board and knife. And I had a cooler, like a Yeti, that I would keep all the barbecue hot in. And so I'd feed them in the green room. And so when they decided to move here, I was kind of feeding them in the green room and then running the whole green room and making sure it was clean and all that. And then I was helping set up cameras. And then they realized that I had a lot of production experience. And so now I'm producing the show.
I love it, man. I love that you and I have both found this love of barbecue and our love of sharing it with people in the comedy community. And we've come from, different angles to get there. But then here we both are kind of with that same passion. It's really cool, man. And I'm glad that you and I became friends. And I want to.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
When you have some time, let's talk. And if Tony's going to go on a tour and you're not going to be with him or something like that, and you have the time, let's figure out something we can do with some barbecue and comedy shows or something, and see if we can come up with some fun stuff to collaborate on, man. Because I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
and I think the reason comedy and barbecue go so well together is everyone just loves the hang, and no one likes to hang out like a barbecue guy. We hang out for hours and hours staring at a fire, just making sure the meat's cooking, and I think. The best hangs are at comedy clubs. The best hangs are at the bar next to it or the after party, because everyone's just wants to be funny and have fun,
100%. Well said. And also, if you get into either of these worlds, it's because you like to make people happy, and you like the fact that, yeah, it's about the barbecue, it's about the jokes, but the ultimate fallout of those, the result of those is that you're bringing people together, you're making people happy, you're sharing your gift to make those people happy. And also, nobody goes into either of those if they just want an easy way out. If you're into cooking barbecue, there's a lot of other things you could do that are easier, burgers or whatever. Yeah. And comedy, everyone knows that comedy is not a short process. Like, you're in it for the long haul because you love it and you care about it.
Yeah, cook a steak if you're in a rush.
100%, man. So, all right. Well, Yoni, you got anything to promote? Or so at Best Barbecue is where they can find you on Instagram and social medias. And then where can they find some of your content to check you out and support you?
On YouTube, Best BBQ Show. And I think it's episode 159 is The Snows Crew. That's one of my favorite, most recent episodes. And yeah, the podcast got 150 episodes if you want to learn about the history of some of Texas barbecue, some conversation, some fun. I think the 20th or 30th episode is me just grabbing pitmasters from all corners of Texas and putting them all at a table together, talking about just being country boys. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram and, I'll share my map with you.
Love it, buddy. Yep. Follow him on Google Maps. Appreciate you, Yoni.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't wait to hang out soon, man. Let's go to Memphis in May.
Yeah. All right. I'll hit you up.
All right, cool.